How's it going, guys? My name is Dom, and today we're going to be doing a bit of a deep dive into JSON.Stringify in JavaScript because it actually has quite a few really nice hidden gems. Okay, so just as a quick recap here, JSON Stringify is going to take an object or an array, then convert it into a JSON string. For example, I've got this user object right here with 5 properties on it. If I was to console log JSON.Stringify the user object, we of course are going to get the JSON version of that object right here in the console. As you can see, it is all condensed onto a single line, but you can use JSON Stringify to prettify this JSON, give it indentation and so on. That is going to be done using the third argument to this function here. But the most interesting part is the second argument, and I'm going to be showing you that towards the later part of this video. So first, let's have a look at how to prettify this JSON. So let's provide null as the second argument. Like I said, we're going to be coming back to this one very shortly. For the third argument, let's use the number 2. What this does here is if I was to console log now, we can see we get indentation and new lines and so on. Okay, this here is the number of spaces to use for indentation. So we get 1 and 2. You can say, for example, 6. I'll try it again. Now we get more space there. Of course, 6 spaces for each indentation. Of course, 12 when it requires 2 levels of indentation. Now this here is going to max out at 10. So even if you were to say, for example, 4,000, it's only going to go up to 10 and then stop there as the max. So now we can see we only get 10 here as opposed to, of course, 4,000 as the indentation. So that is your spaces version of this particular feature here, but you can also provide a string. Okay, the most common string being used is going to be the tab character. So I can say \t. This here is now going to use tabs for the indentation as opposed to spaces. And it's hard to know if it's actually tabs in the console here, but trust me, it is definitely going to be tabs when you go ahead and use it. You can also say double tab, for example, something like this. Not sure why you want to do this, but you can see it does definitely work. Okay, you can actually provide whatever string you want here. For example, dcode is also going to be perfectly valid. I'll try it again. Now we get dcode, the string, as the indentation between every single level. So I think for the most part, you're only going to be really using a \t or tab character here for the majority of situations, and there we go. Now, let's jump to this second argument right here. This applies mostly, if not all the time, to objects when you're trying to convert, objects to JSON and not arrays. Now, what is the second argument? Well, you can provide 2 different types of values to this, similar to the third one. Now, having a look at what happens when you provide an array to this argument, this here is going to specify a whitelist of what to keep in the output. For example, if I was to say member since, okay, and also let's just do ID. Now, I'll try again, console log. It's only going to give us member since and ID. Whatever goes in here, this or these properties are going to be included in the output, okay? For example, if you also were to provide an empty array, in this case, you're going to get no data in the output. So there you go. It's a whitelist of what to keep. Okay. This here might be useful if you want to omit certain values, like maybe think about things like IDs or tokens or anything other that might be sensitive before sending to your server side, maybe things like that. And that's of course if you don't go ahead and make a new object instead before passing it to your JSON Stringify. But of course, this here is just going to be an option if you want to use it. Okay. Now, that is the array version of that second argument. What if you were to provide a function instead? Let's have a look. So let's create a new constant here called replacer. This is going to be the function which we're going to be passing in to the second argument. Let's say here key and value. And for now, let's just return value. So this here acts as a kind of like a filter in a way to your JSON Stringify. So we're going to take this function and then reference it as the second argument right here, like this. And we can see that returning value directly is going to have no effect on the output. And there we go. Okay, but what is this actually doing? Well, this function, okay, is going to run for all your properties. So all these 5 properties here. Whatever gets returned, that's going to be what the value is in your JSON output. Okay, let's say return and let's do decode instead. Now something strange will happen here, but let's just try it anyway. We actually just get decode. Okay, that's because this replacer also runs for the entire object itself. Okay, so I'll repeat that. When you provide replacer, you're going to get a function call for the entire object. So what's happened here is we're saying, look, let's run replacer. It runs on the entire object first, then it just simply returns decode, which is why we get decode right here. Okay, to make things easier to understand, let's say if key is equal to empty string, then return value. Okay, because your key is going to be every single property here, and the key being an empty string is the first one, the initial one. That's when it's for the whole object, meaning now if I was to save this, run it again, we get the whole thing returned back this time, right? Because we return the object back. Then it goes ahead and proceeds and then does this for every other property, and we get decode as the output. So you're able to manipulate or replace, transform the values in the JSON. To make this interesting, you might say, for example, I want to only keep the strings, only keep the properties with the string as the value. Okay, so in that case, I might say, okay, no worries. If type of value does not equal to be string, then we're going to return undefined. Otherwise, simply return the value like that. So this here is going to run for ID. Okay, in this case, ID is a string, so this won't run. And you simply return the value. So in this case, of course, A8, EF, 4, etc. Same goes for display name and username. They're all strings, so it's going to work. You get to member since. Okay, it's going to say, okay, no worries. If type of 2017 is not a string, yes, return undefined. Because we return undefined, this here is going to omit it from the output. I'll run the script again, and now we can see we only get those string values in the output right there. Okay, so you can use it to filter your values like this, return undefined and return the value with conditions, etc. Or you can use it to manipulate your data. Okay, so you could say, let's just do a quick example here. If type of value is equal to number, okay, if it's a number, then just say return value times 2. Okay, let's try this now. And we get member since 4034 instead of 2017. Of course, that is that number multiplied by 2. So you can see that he can also do transformations as part of the replacer. Now, if I'm being honest, you probably won't use this very often, and it's a similar story to providing the array in that you probably just create a new object up here beforehand and do your transformations and your when you want to get rid of your keys and things like that, remove your keys. So unlikely you want to be using this, but look, the option is there for you to use, and it's a bit interesting to see it in action. So that is the JSON Stringify function in a bit more detail. If this video helped you out, make sure to drop a like and subscribe to Decode, and here is another video.